Hey guys, what we're going to do right now is go over the contract and just make sure everybody knows what they need to do. Of course, on top, you need the sell information. You can get that from the MLS. We're going to go over that in a few seconds. Verify their address. The buyer information should be automatically populated. And then you have the math here, 1% and 5A goes over here in the little section. Then you have in line B, 2.5. And then the remainder, 96%, 96.5% goes into line C. And then whatever's in line 5C goes into 6C. All right, so let's get into it. The first thing to do is make sure that you log into Smart MLS. You could either enter your username on top, where it says username, password, login, right on top. Username, password, login. All right, but that's one option. Or this where it says for real estate professionals, then you will click on where it says login. You click on login over there. Once you have logged in with your username and password, you click on where it says matrix. You have the matrix right here. Then you click on where it says matrix. You click on that right here where it says matrix. That's what we're doing right now. Click on matrix. Over here, you will enter the property information, the street number, and the street name. But you're just going to find a random property and make an offer. So let's pick a property. This here is a condo. It says right here, condominium, right below over here. All right. But what I'm going to do right now is this little symbol right here. It says transaction desk. This is where you need to go to. You can also get that same information by going to transaction desk, but I prefer going through the MLS. So from the MLS, you can go to the symbol, then it will get you to the wizard. This is what the wizard is right here. The property address right here. Go to templates. I've already created templates for you guys. If you're doing a buyer offer, if you're doing a New York offer, GHAR, if you're doing a listing, a lease, whatever it is, but we're doing a buyer offer. Click on create right over here. It says create. I'm going to click on that. Usually this process takes between 10 to 15 minutes. If you're new to making contracts, it might take you a little longer, maybe 20 minutes for the first time. Over here, as you can see, where it says transaction dates, we're going to skip all this. It says step 2 of 5. We're going to jump right to 3. Click on add. Click on the add button over here. Once you click on add, the next step will be to either, if it's a brand new client, click on create new transaction. If you have never entered a contract for them, it's the first time you do create new transaction contact. If it's somebody you have made offers before, I have, so this is a test account. I'm going to add existing. So I'm just going to type in test. As you can see, I have different test accounts. I'm going to choose the one that has an email. Click on add. And just make sure that you have the address for your client, because you have two options. You have general and you have address. Just make sure that you have the address in the system, so automatically populate. If you have a number for your client, enter the number also. Anything that could be useful is added here. And general, what I usually do is where it says last name, first name, fill out. Where it says legal name, put their full name. In this case, will be test. For their signature, also, and initial would be test would be TT, and save. We have the buyer information. It's going to be test and save. Let's make sure that you go to step 3 and then click and save. You're going to have 2 forms here. You're going to have the MRG, exclusive right. That's the one that's for us. And also the standard form contract. That's where we will send out to the listing agent. All right, so let's go to the exclusive right to represent the buyer. This is just pretty much an agreement between you and the client, stating that you're going to be the one helping them to find a home. It could be 3 months, it could be 6 months. We usually do a year. It says terms of authorization. It'll be a year. We're going to use from today's date till next year. All right, you can go all the way to next year, so it's September. All right, 1 year out. Everything is usually populated, as you can see here, because you already entered the information. You can also broaden the distance. Let's say if you wanted to do Hartford, whatever, you can also add it here. You can edit it here. You have the broker agrees to represent them to make sure that we have we're treating the client in their best interest. And then also one of the most important things is the fees. What are we going to be charging our clients? What this says here is that number one is that I agree to pay the minimum commission to the realtor. I will be the buyer, right? Of 3% or $3,000, whichever is greater. If we go on the contract with an off-market property, so anything that's not on the MLS, something off-market, they're going to be paying us Marriott Realtor Group a minimum of 3%. It says right here. Also, you can see I agree to pay $5.95 broker fee for broker audit and 5-year transaction storage fee. It's pretty much a company fee that we're charging our clients for storage, and that would be to be paid at closing, right here in writing. This should be disclosed to them before they sign the document. So just make sure that you relay that information to them to let them know there is a $5.95 fee, and that should be charged. You should not be eating that charge. The client should be charged at closing. One thing you can do to offset that fee, you could request closing cost for your client. So maybe $2,000-3,000 that will cover the 3% or the $3,000 minimum commission. So maybe you say, hey, we do charge a fee, but we'll ask the seller to pay for those fees, and you can charge that at close. You can get a credit from the seller of whatever it is. Our minimum commission is 3%. If the seller is giving us 2%, we can get the 1% from the buyer. That's what that 3% is. It's not an additional 3%. 3% will be the minimum that we'll receive for our company. Then we have the other section is that after 30 days, after everything is, like I said, we didn't find them a property, but we showed them a property and they did go ahead and go with that property. 30 days after, we can still get paid commission for that property. Also, they acknowledge that here, you can say, I acknowledge that we do not have an existing relationship with a licensed real estate agent. Well, pretty much, they're saying if they do eventually say they have an agent and we found them a property, or another person found them a property, we're still going to get paid because they signed this document and we were the first person that we were working with. All right, and then if you scroll down, you as the agent will sign here. The buyer will sign on this section over here. That's where the buyer will sign. The agent will sign over here. All right. Always remember to save your work. On top, you will see where it says file. Make sure you go to save your work. Always save. Because if you go back and you do not save, you have to do the whole thing over again and you have to spend 2 minutes entering information. The most important thing is the standard form real estate contract. That's where we go over all the numbers. This itself, the contract, shouldn't take you more than maybe 10 minutes to go through. I've been doing this for a while. For me, it's pretty easy. Always remember to have the example. If it's FHA, if it's conventional, whatever it is, I'll just make sure that you have a copy. It's a cash offer. I'll just make sure that you have a copy of the example and just go through the steps. You shouldn't get this thing wrong. Everything is given to you guys. You should be able to follow the steps in the system. We're gonna go back here. We need the seller's name, address, and if what's included in the property. So we'll go back to the MLS. You can see that it's 43 Harbor Drive. They want 560,000, 59,000 for it. The year built was 1989. If it's anything less than 1978 or older, it does require a lead base disclosure form. They don't have to do the lead base test, but they have to have the form. So we have that. So let's go over all the tabs. So right now we're on listing. Then you have additional documents. They have a floor plan. That's not needed, but they have that. They have the property condition disclosures. That's right here. We will need to sign that. We have the photos of the property and plus the floor plan. We have the public record tax information. This is where we have the owner's information, where they live and so forth. They live at the property itself. As you can see here, all right, so you have the property information, you have the name, and you have the address of the property. And then the next one will be the flood, all right? Is in the flood zone, right? It's right next to water, but as you can see, it says within 25 feet of multiple flood zone. It says yes. Special flood zone area, out. It says out right here. And then you see where it says property information. Property history, sorry about that. You have the history of when it came in the market. You can see here, it came in the market on the 16th of May, and they reduced the price, they reduced it again, they took it off the market, withdrawing off the market, back on the market today, on the 4th. So you can see all that information here. You have the history on the property. All right, so let's get back to the property. So let's say we made an offer. Let's give it an even number. Let's say $600,000. We're going to go back to the property. We copied the information. It's a public record. To live at the property. We enter the information here. 43. All right, 43, and then just put the property address right here. Harbor Drive. I'm not gonna put the whole thing in there, but you can each section you'll put like the Stamford CT 06902. It's better for you to enter the information correctly the first time than have to go back in after it's signed and then have to correct it. So just make sure that you double check your work, check the name, check the address, make sure everything is how it's supposed to be. All right, then you go back. What's included? See, appliances included. We copy that information. After you copy it, then you go back to copy paste. You have it there. Then you go back to the manual. 1% in A, 2.5% if it's FHA. Most loans are FHA. And then 96.5 in line C. And then that's 5A is 1%, 5B is 2.5, 5C is 96.5%. Let's grab a calculator and let's do the math together. So we have easy math, 600,000 times 0.01 equals 6,000. So 6,000 goes into line A. Then we have 2.5 will go into line B. We have 600,000 times 0.025, that's 2%, that's 15,000, even 15,000. Then we go back, and then we do 600,000 times 0.965. 0.965 equals 579,000. All right, so you have that. Then you have additional deposits. We do 14 days from today's date. Well, sorry, 12 days from today's date. So the 14 will be 10. And then we have the 16th. All right, and then nothing is there. See the results, 600,000, exactly how much we were offering for the property. Whatever is in line 5C will be in, if you check this as third party mortgage, will be in 6A, 30 years by standard. And then you can double check to see 30 years. And then you're going to see what it says 40 days from now will be for the loan commitment. That's when the loan should be approved. And then you have closing within 45 days, 5 days after the commitment approval. All right, so we go over back to the MLS, to transaction desk. All right, so pretty much we have that. Just remember, whatever is in line C go right over here. Then you have 40 days out. Let's jump to next month. And then 10 more days will be the 14th, but we can't close on the weekend. It'll be on a Monday. And then 5 days from then, so October 16th, we can close on Friday. All right. Then you click on today's date. Just look right here. Once you update the dates, today's date, it automatically will update in each page. If the seller is willing to pay the concessions, then you put it right here. Could be 4,000, could be 5,000, could be 20,000. Just remember, FHA, the most you can ask for is up to 6%. That's the max. Over here, I'll check everything except for well and septic and lead. So this one is in your home. You go back here, it's 1989, so it does not require lead. So we can waive this right here. We can check to see if where it says utilities, where's utilities? Right here. And then it is public water and public sewer. And it is natural gas. So we have that information. We're waiving septic. We're going to waive well. You can actually waive water also, because if they don't want to test the water itself, you don't have to test the water because it's public. But they can if they choose to. There's no oil tank. All right. And if they want to check for asbestos, they can. But usually most of the newer homes don't have asbestos. Usually older homes have asbestos, but that's fine. This is where we put the price of the house. The sale is contingent upon the property appraising and the sale price is 600,000 total purchase price. We're going to put 600,000 right here. Okay, cool. So we have that. And if the attorney information, you can put the attorney information right here. Their attorney email, attorney address. Please remember to click on File and Save. All right, since we have multiple documents, we're going to do, you can either do the pen, that's for this document we're on right now, or we can go to Open Form right here. Open Form. Check the boxes for the documents you want to be included. On the top, you will have where it says the pen again, but we're signing for all these documents. You can copy the documents, you can download it, you can print it, you can save it as PDF, you can send it as email, and not a lot of people know that we can actually fax the information out. So I'm clicking the pen, and we're almost done. Let's see, once it loads up, then we'll be able to get to the fun part of it. All right, so we're here for the contract. Nothing is, this is the forms, but nothing is there, as you can see. Nothing is filled out. Everything is just, the initial part is not filled out, but the form is filled out. What we have to do, because it says add participants, add from transaction. Once we add from transaction, then we're going to go over here and add myself, because I have to sign some documents, and I'm going to add the buyer. If you also want to add a listing agent, you can. Once everything is signed, you can CC them also, so they can get a copy of the contract. But in this case, I'm not doing that. I'm just choosing myself and the buyer, because I got to sign also the exclusive. As you can see, it's automatically populated right here. Automatically populated. As you can see, this one is not populated, but I'm going to show you how to do it manually on your end. What I'm going to do right here, I'm going to go to Tools. I'm going to go to the buyer, Initials. Right here, it says Initials. I'm going to drag the initials over here. Click, copy, paste, paste, paste for the buyer initial. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to add their signature. So that's the next step. It says sign here. We were requesting for their signature. I'm going to copy right over here. All right. What we're doing, we're going to drag it. We're going to, it comes with its own date. We're going to pull the date. And then I got to sign also. I got to click on right here. The date's right next to it. I'm going to drag it right over here. And I'm all done. But I'm not all the way done yet. If I go back to the MLS, there is one more document where it says property condition disclosure. All right, and let's hit cancel. Let's just open in new tab. I need to download it first. Okay, go back to documents. So right over here where it says documents, click on documents and add documents. Upload. Either I can just drag it in, or I can just click over here, go to my downloads, make sure it's the correct document, open. So I have 3 documents here plus disclosure. If I go over here, I can just type in the title of the property, real estate. I can apply the layout, and it should do it for me. It didn't, but it should have. So I'm gonna do it manually. I'll go over here. I'm just gonna do the initials. Same thing I did before. Copy, 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 and paste. And paste. Alright, and then I'm just going to drag where it says that. Where it says full name right here. That's where I'm going to drag that over for the name of the buyer. Let's test. I'm done. Only thing I do right now is click on next and send the document. That's it. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys. If you have any questions, reach out to me.